wish you all a happy Hanukkah. I have a question. The course, it takes 50 minutes. Is that right?
15 minutes, yes.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for reading, Angelique, this wonderful psalm, number 30, I think. That's right. And I want to let you know the third verse of this psalm is very important for the modern time, for this time we live, because it's written in the third pasuk, in the third sentence. Hashem Elokai Shivati Elecha Vatirpaeni. That means, Hashem, my God, I cried out to you and you healed me. Healed me, that means cured me. So our sages are asking, what is the meaning of this? That means that I, King David, I saw the cure for my illness and my ills only from you, and not from a human being or a physician. I realized that the source of my misfortune was spiritual, not physical in nature. When the soul is profaned and deprived of its sanctity, the body which houses the soul becomes sick. Perhaps the word chole in the Hebrew, that means sick, is related to the word chol, that means profane. So chole and chol means that the body, which is a holy tool, is being profaned and being sick. So the difference between the near synonym shav'a tze'aka, that means both of means outcry, is derived from Yeshua, and that means salvation or help. It is an articulate cry that describes where the salvation is needed. Sa'aka, however, it's another word for crying, is, however, a cry for help lacking an intelligible message. Vatirpaeni, and God, you healed me. That means you accepted my repentance and forgave my sin. As it says, V'shaf rafa lo, he shall repent and be healed, which is written in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 10. That means you assured my health by holding back the angel of the plague, the angel of pestilence, the angel of nega, of COVID. According to those who comment that David composed this psalm with reference to his own grave illness, this verse, as well as several others, can best be understood quite literally. That means, if you, chas v'chalila, we say in Hebrew, God forbade it, if a person is ill in this time, he must read this psalm for 3 times and make in his heart repentance, and then surely God will forgive him and heal him. That is an important message I would like to give you today. So now we are speaking about Chanukah. What is so special about the 8 days of Chanukah? Let me first explain that the earth was created in 6 periods, yamim. Yom, the meaning of yom is not only day, because the first 3 days there was no sun and no moon. So that means 24 hours as a definition for a day is not reasonable. But it can take millions of years, a period of time. So the world was, and besides of that, 1,000 years for human beings are 1 day in the eyes of God, which is written in Psalm 64. I'm not sure. So when the earth was created, it was created in 6 days, in 6 yomim, 6 periods. And then God finished working at the end of the sixth day, and he created the demons and the negative forces to hoe zeg je dat, uitdagen, to
Challenge.
challenge the human being, the human race. Thank you very much. So let's say in this physical world, in this heelal, in this cosmos, we are living in the period of 5,782. That means we are living in a cosmos, in a system where the 7 days are ours. And if you remember that from the exile from Egypt to the Mount Sinai, the Jewish people are counting every day. We call that the Sefirat HaOmer, the counting of the days of the Omer. So in total, that is 7x7, it's 49 days. So here again, the number 7 is an important. 7 is a holy number because it's constricted and it's related to the creation of earth and heaven. And also Moses died in the fields of Moab. He died in the fields of Moab, and in Hebrew, the gematria, that means the words of every letter is mem is 40, the aleph is 1, the vav is 6, and the bet is 2. So together that is 49. So it's written in the Talmud, there are 49 gates of wisdom. So, and in total, Moses, our teacher, he was able to open the 49th gate of wisdom. He was the owner, and he could content all these sha'arim, all these gates, 49 gates. And his follower, who went to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of promise, to Canaan, was Yehoshua, the son of Nun. He was a Ben Nun. And Nun, what is Nun in Hebrew? The gematria, the words like Scrabble from the letter is Nun is 50. That means only Yehoshua was able to get the Jewish people from the desert to the land of promise, to Canaan, to the 50. So what we see from this is that the 7 is a holy number, and it is confined to this world, to the heaven and earth of this world. And also that is the same with 49. Now, what do we say with the number 8? The number 8 is beyond this world. It's higher than this world. It's higher than heaven, than the normal heaven above us, than our atmosphere, than our heelal, than our cosmos. The number 8 is something special. It's higher. It's the connection between Elohim, between God in spiritual sentence and a human being. It's the derech haneshama. It's the way of the soul. It's number 8. That is why a Jewish boy is being circumcised on the 8th day. After 7 days, on the 8th day in the morning, the little baby is being circumcised. So we call that the Brit Milah. It's the connection, it's the Brit, it is the verbond. How do you, verbond?
Agreement.
It's agreement. It's the agreement between God and the people and human beings that the number 8 is a special number. It connects heaven and earth. So that is not only the reason that we celebrate 8 days of Chanukah, because the wonder which happened on Chanukah is more than we can imagine in our world. In our world, the oil should only burn 1 day. because they found a little kruikje. Hoe zeg je kruikje?
Can. A
Yes.
can.
They found a little can of oil, and despite that they thought that this oil would only burn one day, it burned 8 days, and that was exactly the time being necessary to prepare holy new oil for the temple service. So the number 8 is very important also in Chanukah. And one light of the menorah can take away all darkness from the world. Our world is built upon the foundations of two similar cultures, the Jewish culture on one side and the Greek culture, and both treasured the worlds of ideas. Yet to this day, they represent two worldviews. Still, they are locked in battle. Every day there is a battle between the Jewish and the Greek ideas and thinking. To this day we struggle. Does human dignity means that our minds are the measure of all things? Or does it mean to be in divine image, inextricably bound up with the infinite that lies beyond the mind? The Greeks reached the pinnacle of intellect at their time. Their ideal was a world built upon the human mind. But the Jewish people had experienced a deeper reality, indescribable and inexplicable. They understood that a world built on human reason alone could not stand. The Greek conquerors rose, fell, and vanished. The Jewish people still exists and stands strong. And so we light candles on Chanukah, not light to see by, not light for any use at all. It's pure light. Light that is forever. Light that is shining from our souls and in a direct connection to God's heaven. That's important. The bridge between heaven and earth is created by the light of Chanukah. So it's important, and I wish you all that your lights, which you will shine upon the world, and your souls will give light to all human beings around you. By making one good deed, you can save you other people, because you save also yourself. I wish you a happy Chanukah and much light.